Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 3 versus 3 on Railway, and I'm going to be playing with the new VTK 42. So this video is kind of a showcase of the new division. Let's quickly go through what I have down. So we've got some Aufkader. Moving to the front, we've got the Heimat Aufkader. Following up, we've got 2 Fliegerfaust. There's a Heimatjäger with the Carl Gustav. We've got the Leopard 2A4B Führer. We've got the M113 with the new Battlegroup, and then they are followed up by some M48 A2 GA2s with a Leopard. Look at this thing. Pretty cool. That's providing instructor trait to the other units nearby because these are reservist. And for those of you who are new to the instructor trait, which I'm sure many of you might be, basically what it does is it removes reservist and gives veterancy to units of the same type. So they have to be in the same tab. So a instructor in the tank tab will only give that effect to other tanks in the tank tab, not tanks in the recon tab, just tanks in the tank tab. So hopefully that makes sense. Same goes for infantry. I have some infantry leaders coming up, like the infantry instructors, sorry. So the Fachlehrgruppe will only give extra veterancy to other infantry and take away reserve straight from those as well. Good kill early on onto the BRDM to Strela. As you can see, the battle is well underway. I've got an F4F hanging out overhead just to see if I can shoot some things down. We took out an MI8 on the right hand side to give Taki a hand, and I've just shot down that recon helicopter as well. So a good little sortie with the F4F that does come with 4 infrared AIM-9Ls. And we've got the Battlegroup finally unloading. The M13 is nice transport because it does come with its own smoke. And now the M48 GA2s moving into position to engage enemy forces. These have a relatively decent gun for their price, like 17 penetration for 75 points is actually really good. And as you can see, they're able to survive an HGM from a BMP-1 quite well. My Leopard 2A4B Führer moving in to capture the sector. Heimat Aufkader providing the recon on the front. However, we'll get chewed up pretty quickly as there's 2 T-54Bs there. There's also the T-64A instructor from Tommy. That's starting to chip into my M48s, which have taken a decent amount of damage so far. So I managed to shoot down or destroy the T-64. And the battle continues in the center here as the reserves start pushing more aggressively. This Leopard, really cool unit. Actually has a very good gun. 20 penetration with 2,275 meter range. Really good accuracy while stationary. And that's only, what, 165 points, so you can really outgun stuff if you get the ambush on them, and it's a great support for the other M48s that you're going to keep nearby. So just shifting up here to get the shot onto the truck. This is one of the new trucks because we are playing against Tommy, who's using the 71st Reserve Tank, which is the other division in this Nemesis DLC. So we're seeing units from both sides, which is very cool. These reserve T-54s, they kind of lack penetration at range, but they can do at least 1 damage with every shot because they use heat rounds. So the M48s will struggle a little bit because of that. We'll still be taking like cohesion damage and so on. But a lot of the opening engagement, very intense, and lots of stuff has gone down. I did retreat a couple of the M48s so that I could repair them with supply. Also got my Aufkader Marder 1A3 back here, and I did end up leaving a Highhawk at spawn for a little while, which I make the mistake of, and certainly doesn't help later on in the game. Instructori coming around, gonna get wiped out by the Leopard and the Leopard. Good kills, still getting some good value here. Unfortunately, Taki on the right hand side has been pushed out significantly for the time being. It's only a +1, so not too bad. Heimatjägers coming in to help deal with the units that managed to penetrate through my right flank. This was supposed to be the units that are going to go and deal with that. And then we got the Marder 103s coming into the center. I do need to change these to Marder 103 Milans. There's no real reason to bring normal Marder 103s when you can choose to bring them with the Milan. Because the benefit of the Marder 103 is it's 5 front armor. And so with an HGM you can really help swing tank engagements into your favor at a distance, because they'll have time to fire and survive a shot from a tank whilst landing their HGM or getting a shot nearby. Well, you can see my transport vehicles getting picked off there, which means I lose both my Heimatjäger before they unload, so that was my mistake. But alas, I'll bring in a couple more, and hopefully this time I won't be just feeding. We do also have the Battlegroup arriving, and the instructor units are pretty good in their own right. The M113 also can survive a hit, so that's not too bad. So we're going to go run after that VTK now. Meanwhile in the center, rockets coming in from the Su-22 take out my Battlegroup. Panzerguns have now arrived though, and we're going to be able to push up with them, screen my tanks as we move forwards. But now the nasty Su-22 Seria 30 comes in with the KH-29, manages to snipe my Leopard. Must have had line of sight from the left hand side, and I was just far enough back away from the train cars for that to get the hit in. Also going to come in, hit the Leopard. So that is over 400 points worth of units going down in 2 shots from that Su-22. Really nice shots from Atom there to help Tommy in the center. Su-24 coming in. And we've also got the Su-24 with the HE bombs. So the Seed 1, the HE bomb. I'm going to be getting my F4Fs to come in because the Su-24 didn't drop its bombs on the first run, so I'm hoping I'm able to intercept it the next time round when it tries to do so. I managed to clean out the VTK on the right hand side. My units have arrived. We've got some Heimatjägerkommando on the way. Here comes the F4F, taking down the Su-24 as planned. We're also going to be able to take out the MiG-21. My second F4 not doing too great. I also bring in the one from the right hand side to help deal with the MiG-29, so this one doesn't die. Unfortunately, both taking a lot of damage, and the second one going down on the way out. So I lose 2 aircraft. We did manage to take down 2 aircraft between us as a team, but yeah, probably not a good idea for me, as my AA options are limited outside of Ihawks. Like, Leopards are great and all, and so are Fliegfast with IBET, but they're only really good against helicopters. They're not going to deal with aircraft, so I've got to make sure that I don't let the aircraft get the better of me. And having lost 2 of my air superiority fighters, that's not a good look. Rockets coming in there, managed to take out both my Panzergrunds without killing the Motras VTK. That was really sad for me. Ihawk failing to get the shot on target on the way out. F4F on the way. Going to be finding myself a Su-22 Seria 30. Not able to turn and get the second shot on target before we get hit by AA. So another F4F now taken out. The Heimatjägerkommando going to be making a push now to this tree line. In order to secure this sector, you kind of need to own this tree line on the right hand side so that you can fire from right to left to engage any CVs that may be on the backside. A Su-22 comes in just as I unload the Ihawk. It gets popped by Seed because obviously it wasn't turned off while in the transport. As soon as I unload it, the Seed fires and it died. So kind of bad timing for me there. Wasn't happy about that at all. I do have an Alpha Jet also hovering around. Got the rockets ready to assist against enemy infantry. Armada's getting good value here from the right hand side, getting the autocannon on target there. N48 covering the left flank nicely. Heimatjägerkommando pushing forwards with their G3A4s. Really nasty squad, these Heimatjägerkommando, because they have both the Panzerfaust and the Handflambeathron, so really decent. in this case, kind of getting caught out by the machine guns of the BMP and the reservists in the open. But alas, now I'm backed up by Grim. So Grim also bringing in the same division in this game. And that's going to provide me with some more Heimatjäger and Jagdkommando to try and clear this out. Nasty bombing strike does come in from the Su-24, but this time does get intercepted by the anti-air, and I'm going to make sure to move the anti-air after firing it so we don't take any artillery fire onto those positions. You can see there the Marder 1A3 actually surviving a shot from the T-72 OBR-89 as my Alpha Jet goes down. These are pretty nasty tanks. T-72 with 20 front armor, a decent gun with 20 pen at 2,100 meter range, and then there's the 80 gem, which is really, really good for controlling open range engagements. Then 48 goes down the right hand side. Ihawk's gonna help push off that aircraft for now. Marder at close range, able to quickly melt the Reservisti, so they're not going to pose a problem, even though they could have probably stopped and got an 80 off. But for now, just got to get the Mungerführer back into the center so that we continue to contest this point and not give away too many conquest points. More infantry on the way. It's very important, I think, when you use the infantry in this division that you do have instructors with them. So anytime you see me pushing infantry without an instructor nearby, that's just like a bad choice on my part. Because the reservist trait, in some cases, it's like okay, but you'll notice that it sets the G3 in this case to 0% accuracy on the move. So you're never going to be winning like an open range engagement on the move, unless you can sort of remove that negative effect. And then even then, obviously you want to kind of stop the fire so that you're not getting just ripped to pieces. M109 has joined me on the field, and we're going to be looking to get some counter battery going because there was a decent amount of artillery coming in. You can see it lying in there on the left side of the sector. They're probably just looking for maybe a CV snipe there. Two Heimatjägers waiting to unload and get going. And here's a new unit, the Leopard 2A4D. So just like the other Leopards, really, they are the Leopard 2A4s, but it does have extra front armor. You get an extra 2 front armor on this, which is very nice indeed. Certainly going to help against those heavier tanks on the backside. There's a lot of really fun tools in VTK 42, to be honest. Like, you do get the UH-1D recon helicopter, which is nice. You've got obviously all the Leopards, you've got the F4Fs, you've got the Alpha Jets, there's the like interesting infantry with the instructor traits and stuff going on. You might have noticed that Su-24 did take out my Ihawk again. My management against Seed in this game was a little bit lacking. Ideally, the way you want to do it in WARNO is have your AA turned off by default and then turn it on when you know that there's not Seed in the air. And that way you can get kills without losing your anti-air. But yeah, unfortunately I still have the habit from Broken Arrow, which basically works the opposite way, in which you always leave it on and then turn it off when the enemy fires. So it's a bit counterintuitive when you're switching between both games. Poor M109 didn't move after it fired, so it took a little bit of counter battery there. Fortunately, just a few grad rockets, so nothing crazy in terms of damage. Right, Marder 1A3 Milan's now arriving, which is great. I ended up with like one card with Milans and one card without Milans because of the way that I had to rebuild the deck after the showcase. It's like after the overview video, because I did the overview video, but then I had to change versions to record the campaign, and then I went back to the base branch, like the normal branch, and then I had to remake the deck. So in my mistake, I ended up with a card of Panzergrants with just the Marder 1A3 rather than with the Milan. But I did fortunately have one of each, so that's good. I always think it's worth having that Milan. It just helps you deal with enemy APCs so much easier. And also, yeah, as I mentioned earlier, helps you support tanks in long-range engagements, particularly, you know, behind your leopards. If you can have a couple Milans hitting the enemy tanks and reducing their cohesion, it's fantastic. Ataki is doing a good job here, slowly working his way back through. Ataki is playing with the 5th Armoured, so trying to make use of his Jaegers, supported by his Leopard 105s here to make ground. Tommy pushing quite aggressively is going to force me to make some trades here. This Marder 1A3 that was being an absolute champion, unfortunately finally taken out as it almost takes the T62 with it. Really good stuff. Going to get the Leopard 2A4D to the left, but the whole time after those initial kills with the aircraft, the Seria 30, killing both my Leopard leader and also the Leopard 1A6, I was really worried about using heavier tanks further up because it would make them vulnerable to those airstrikes again. And it's a lot of points to lose, especially considering they can use their aircraft multiple times, whereas I'm going to have to keep buying in new 290 point and 250 point tanks. So this is Birdie RPO. Easy enough for the Marder 1A3 to deal with. Did manage to take out a Heimatjagdkommando. So ultimately just building up a few forces. Going to bring up a couple mortars as well now. We've got a couple of 10-pellet mortars in these. And those mortars are going to provide smoke that will then allow me to kind of get some infantry into the corner, because the infantry that you have is not that bad considering with instructor trait you're removing reservists, you're also getting extra veterancy. So because you're removing reservists, you have very good value for money infantry, because reservist infantry by default are cheaper because they have reservists. So if you can just remove that trait entirely, then you just have really good value for money infantry, which allows you to you know, play to that strength. And that's what I'm going to try and do on the right side of this sector in order to take the ground here. I did bring in some reinforcements, you'll notice on the right hand side. I actually forgot about them and wasn't reminded until pretty late in the game, so they're going to sit there for a little while Grim Guy and Taki try and secure that right side sector. My left flank was a little bit scary as Atom is kind of probing here with his Corpus Desantove. iHawks going to be moving up here to make sure that I have cover, because it's quite likely they're going to try and bomb this push. So yeah, I wanted to make sure the iHawks had the best chance as possible to get kills. Smokes come down from the 10-pellet mortars. We're going to unload the Heimatjagdkommando and have them follow this in. I also need to get my instructor up here ASAP so that we remove that reservist trait. It's a little bit of a mistake on my part, kind of committing before I had an instructor trait unit available. But Leopard 2A4 plus the M48 supporting this push, it's pretty good. It allows me to take out any of those annoying vehicles. And the push in general has gone pretty well, especially like the Heimatjagdkommando coming up here. We've still got 8 of those Handplan rounds ready to go. Killed the BMP. Pretty solid kills. Unfortunately, Cluster comes in, takes out my tanks. Leopard 2A4D does go down amongst that because it had already taken damage from the left-hand side, so the cluster strike just kind of finished it off. But ground has been made. The BTR is going to go for a runner. We're also going to take out the Nuva as well. So, new anti-air unit getting taken out. More smoke going to be brought in just so that I can move forwards without being shot at from a distance. So here comes the Battlegroup. Yeah, I definitely should have had that there sooner to get rid of the reserve trait. VTK coming up. They're going to be trying to spot our leaders. As soon as I see that, we just move the Mongefuhrer to the side so that the artillery does come in there. We're out the way already. M48 catches an HGM, but we have managed to push out the units from this sector, so that's nice. And for the first time in this game, we're putting points on the board. So the +1 finally happening. We are just over halfway through the game, so we just need to get our move on now, get a few more conquest points going, and we can look for the comeback. So 22 coming in again to clean up another of these infantry. Yeah, if these Su-22s can come in with impunity and just kill off infantry squads like that, it's really quite difficult to get value out of your infantry, because they're just killing you for free, they're going back, reloading, and then just coming in doing it all over again. I did manage to finish off one of the T-72s here with the help of a Maverick missile from the F4F you saw come in. That wasn't so bad. Hi, Matjagers. Still doing a great job here. Like at range, beating the Reservisti pretty easily. Battlegroup still trying to catch up. We have a bunch of Fleekfaust on the way, because I figured, you know, I might as well have some AA in position, so if they fly over the top of these AA pieces, at least I have a chance of shooting them down. Better than nothing. Otherwise it's just going to be constant aircraft circling overhead. Like between like Tommy and Atom, like Tommy's covering with his MiG-29, and this MiG-29 really scary, but does get shot down. That thing has 40% ECM and very good air-to-air capability. And the Eyehawks have been hitting, but unfortunately not getting kills too often. So I am constantly sending back the aircraft for repairs, but it's not really like helping in the long run. Because one thing in WARNO is I don't think like repairs probably take long enough. When you take damage with your aircraft, I do think that they should take a lot longer to repair. But there goes the Su-24 Seed aircraft, so definitely feeling a bit more confident with my AA now. And Leopard 2A4B joining the infantry push means that we basically have full control over the center and on the far side. And my forces are a little bit sparse for sure, but then again so are my opponents. As I mentioned, I was getting pretty comfortable with the seed being gone, the Su-24 seed getting shot down before, but there is another that I'm going to have to worry about, so not ideal. The Su-22 M4 with the rockets at least goes down, so that's a good kill. On the left hand side, the rest of my forces have been cleaned up by Atom, so yeah, tough one. But another Su-17 going down, that's good for our team. And with Takia fully controlling this right hand side, +1's nice and all, but we've only got 15 minutes left, so we are against the clock here. At the 2A4, I'm going to be trying to engage units out in the open. This is kind of what I needed to do, because one thing that I had been doing in the game so far is utilizing a lot of infantry to try and gain pressure in the center of the map. Here goes the Fleekfaust. See if we can do enough damage to get the job done. Su-22 fortunately misses its cluster. Yeah, what I was doing was I was pushing in with a lot of infantry so that I could secure the sector, and then once I secure the sector I can then utilize my heavier tanks and HGMs to keep my opponent at arm's length across this open field, because it's like a big open field here that if you get some units into these tree lines you can really become a pain, and it becomes very difficult to contest Alpha. And then you can also start putting pressure on India because you have control of this tree line, so you can start putting pressure in here, and it kind of turns the game around. So that was kind of the gamble that I made, was that put loads of infantry in, and then follow up with the tanks later on. And yeah, see Milan 2's on the way. They're going to try and create a nice sticky position here that's really annoying to push into. That would then force the enemy to focus their artillery on taking out the Milans, and if they don't, then they're not going to really be able to move any of their armor. I did end up losing one of my M109s. It did get counter batteried, so that was unfortunate, but I've just put the other one on to counter battery myself. I'm just letting it fire just to be annoying, as I wasn't really going to micro it from that point forwards. Like, having two on the map is great because it allows you to kind of start dealing damage to tank positions like this, but if one of them dies, like, one on its own is not really going to do too much, so you just got to hope that you kind of get lucky with the counter battery. Yeah, rockets coming in there, not going to get the kill onto it, so we'll have time to repair. The main thing I'm concerned about right now is just securing my front here, and whilst it has been very costly, we did get a good position in the game. So Milan 2's getting here just on time to force Tommy to fall back, because T-64A is starting to push, T-55 alongside them, and we're just looking for some nasty Milan shots to get on target. We're also slowly taking out more of Atom's units, because since like Grim's not really putting any pressure onto Delta, Grim's mainly like helping on the right and helping in the middle. Atom's also going to be starting to do the same, so he's been probing my left flank, he's been obviously bringing in reinforcements to help on the front line in the center. The grind's been going in our favor at least. As I mentioned, been losing a lot of forces, but been gaining the ground that I need. Now I just got to keep the Milan 2 away from the Moskaya Pekota here, which is coming over from Eagle. Heimatjäger, Panzergrenz maybe getting a little bit too far up. More tanks on the way. I do also have the F4Fs available. I brought in both of them because I was kind of anticipating some sort of tank push across the open at some point where the Maverick missiles from the F4F would be useful to take those out. But another great kill there onto Su-17, so one less rocket aircraft to worry about. Panzergrenz going to struggle against the double Moskaya Pekota. Unfortunately, not much I can do about that. The Panzergrenz just don't have the numbers. Both my M48s on the left here getting chewed up by the Mi-24W. This is Kokon missiles flying my direction, getting plenty of kills along the way. And while we're so focused on the right side of the sector, leaders moving in on the left. So that's a little bit of a problem for me. So, Heimatjägerführers on the way. Those are just to provide extra veterancy for the most part, whilst also, of course, capturing the sectors, but mainly just leaders to give veterancy to these forces. Area 30 comes in, dunks my Leopard straight into the side armor. Not sure why it was facing in that direction, if I'm honest. I was very surprised to see it get one shot, because I'm pretty sure that it's like 17 armor is the breakpoint where 30 AP missiles don't one-shot your tanks anymore. And those new Leopards, they have 18 front armor. So if you're front on and you see those aircraft coming in, you should survive a shot from them. But in this case, it just blew up in the trees because it was side on to something. And Moskaya Pekota finally getting taken out. Mi-24 is trying to deal with the Panzergrenz, but Roland's coming up to help out. You'll notice on the right-hand side, my Fachlehrgruppe was moving up with the Heimatjäger. Fachlehrgruppe on their own kind of get chewed up. And we do get that position though, so that's not too bad. Alright, Model 183. Recon. Actually a big fan of this. Because again, Model 183 has a decent amount of frontal armor. In this case, you've got an autocannon, you've got the Milan 2 for 110 points with good optics. It's like having one of like the better Bradleys, to be honest. Although I think a TOW 2 is technically better, but still a really strong recon vehicle. And certainly very helpful for cleaning up infantry. The elite Polish infantry causing me problems now. as they do clean out the rest of that tree line that I worked so hard to take in the first place. And you can see that my leopards were on the way. I was floating quite a bit, so you know, plenty of tanks now on their way. Ideally, they should have already been here to stop the units from getting across the open, just like the timing with the Milan 2 here, which does take out T64 with me, for me, which is quite nice. So yeah, I needed the timing to be a little bit better on these the leopards, because now they're going to be fighting back into the train yard, which is very difficult against infantry. The infantry in the train yard is just like perfect range on the AT to get side shots a lot of times, as you kind of like creep around the edge of these boxcars. I'm just trying to spread out the leopards enough that I'm covering most of the angles. And we're going to start using those mortars to provide a little bit of chipping damage on this infantry. On the right, Taki did manage to get a leopard into the sector there, so we're now pushing a +2. Obviously the middle's now contested, so we're not going to get that +3 that I would have liked. And that is certainly going to make it more difficult for us to catch up, because a +2 is great, but we've still got to get above 1,137 points if we want a chance of winning the game. So all to play for still in this one. Magyar Commandos trying to help clean out the left-hand side alongside Grimm's units. Still loads of infantry to worry about in the centre, so the tanks can't be too aggressive right now. Alpha Jet with the rockets coming in. Oh, sorry, that's got the bombs. 250 kilogram HE bombs. I do have the BO-105s here. These BO-105s are the ones with the 2 stingers on the side. So I'm just hovering them on this line. And they're slightly like closer range to aircraft than manpads would be. So the stingers can be pretty effective in this situation. They're also pretty cheap. I think these aircraft, I think I like underrated them when I was looking at them in the overview, or like the first look video of the deck. I actually think they're really good value for money for 45 points. Best way to use them is like probably at the start of the game though, when people are trying to do heli drops or like bring in a lot of aircraft. I think that's probably where they'll get the most value. But at this point they're just kind of acting as my AA. And you see I do have a Gepard here that's moving up to help with that as well. Try and get those a little bit of extra chipping health damage that is sometimes required. A-29 on the right gets ripped out the sky by the Gepard. That's nice. And the hold on the right is going relatively well, but now Su-24 coming in there to cluster one of the 2 A3s. Smoke is a bit of a pain for me if the infantry starts coming across. You see there the Instructori. These guys have actually a really nasty AT weapon, like 20 pen. So side shots are really rough to deal with. Marder 1A3 is coming in. We've also got the Alpha Jet looking for the Spadafamiglia, and the Fargo managed to take out the HGM there, so that's good. I'm looking to take out the second, because if I want my tanks to be able to do anything, then I'm going to have to take out both of those HGMs. So another Alpha Jet coming in. These are only 75 points. If I take out at least 1 or 2 units with them, it's well worth it. You know, just taking out the HGM is worth it for the most part. And in this case, it's going to be limping out of the battle. So Marder 1A3 does find line of sight onto the enemy leaders on the backside here. So T-55, Reserve Comroti, there's also the 3-man leader there from the Poles. Another Alpha Jet coming in with those rockets looking for the infantry. We do manage to finish them off, so that's a good kill. Now the AT-2 coming in, looking for the T-55 AK. And if we can finally kill the last one, might be able to push it back to a +2 at least. Good kill from the F4F. Nice stuff with the Maverick. That one going to get shot down on the way out. Yeah, the leaders did get killed on the right hand side here. Artillery just smashed behind these buildings. So my Munga died, and so did the leopard that was capping that. But alas, finally, the leader does get killed there on the left hand side, but another one has replaced it. So we've still got work to do. I'm just moving up the BO-105s because I want to try and take out this Semi-24, which has been causing me problems. We managed to hit it nicely. Second one comes in, gets the shot on target. Also now looking for the recon helicopter there. Take that out. Wonderful stuff. Great value for money. Leaders are dead, or at least fallen back. So +2 is ours once again. And yeah, very tense engagement. Leopard finding the truck in the smoke. I would zoom into that, but you're not going to see anything. It will just be a big flashbang. Oh no, T-72 Instructori at close range. Carl Gustav takes out BTR. Leopard takes out the second, so no infantry unloading on that right side, but catches an 80 gem in the side from the Malukas. Not very fun. Okay, supply coming up to fix up the infantry. Something I probably should have done a bit better throughout this game is try and preserve my units when they were getting low so that I could have used supply to fix them back up, but alas, it was such a grind in the middle that it was kind of difficult to, get units out of combat. There's just so much like high density fighting going on here. Like the left side's completely unscathed. A little bit of a push now coming in from Atom to probe Grimguy's defenses, but in the center, just look at the amount of wrecks here. Just tanks dead everywhere. Helicopter crash there. Smoke piles going up as the BMPs burn and the trucks are destroyed. So much just been wiped out throughout this game, and another one of my leopards is going to get taken out on the right hand side as I was trying to get shots onto the Gvozdikas and stuff back here. Yeah, the Air Force was a problem, and my lack of micro on my Eyehawks certainly caused issues throughout this game, but there was a lot of seed aircraft. I mean, you got the Su-22 M4Ps from Atom, you got like double seed aircraft from Tommy, I think there was, like 2 Su-24s. So yeah, it would have been tough to micro through all of that regardless, but it certainly would have helped if I tried. Alright, another leopard here, pretty low on health now. More leopards arriving on the left-hand side. And one thing that I think this division will be really fun for is just doing big tank pushes. I think the leopards are really, really fun for those big mobile pushes. Just make sure you're not like going head-on into T-80s, because trust me, I tried that already, and the new leopard makes no difference. So yeah, you're still going to struggle against the heaviest of Soviet armor. I think the infantry tab, pretty good. It does last long enough, and you can make it last longer if you want to put more cards into it. There is quite a lot of cards that you can bring if you want to sacrifice a few activation points to do so. Recon's good enough, Aircraft, I felt like the F4s were a bit of a letdown, but maybe I just wasn't really microing them correctly to get the value. Both times, or like most times that my air-to-air aircraft were coming in, they were going way too deep. But in this case, I'm just rushing up with my leopard here to see if I can maybe put something into the corner of Bravo, because we're getting closer and closer. It's the +2. But as I come around that corner, we just catch so many RPGs. And my poor leader gets absolutely evaporated. Yeah, my plan was just to kind of spam leaders and try and get at least a few more ticks going. But with 3 seconds left on the clock, that is it. And unfortunately for this one, it is going to end in defeat. But a really fun game. And I thought, it showed off a lot of the VTK 42 units. I actually ended up doing the worst on my team in terms of kills and losses. Like running, like headbutting straight into that ground was really rough. 6,775 kills to 8,465 losses in the end. Taki getting a great KD, splitting open the right-hand side, but we just didn't have the time left to secure the conquest points. So yeah, really tough. Atom's air support was devastating for me early on. You know, kept taking out my 2A4B, and my Leopard was so bad for me. But you can see the performance that those kinds of tanks can have. And the Marder 1A3 as well. Like a lot of the standout units in this deck are quite predictable. Like between the Leopards, the Marder 1A3s, and the Leopard with their big tanks. But yeah, this Su-22, you see it took out both the 2A4 and the Leopard, an F4F even, and the Marder 1A3 Milan. That's a solid like 600, 700 points worth of units just from one aircraft. And then the Su-22s taking out my Ihawks didn't help as well. Yeah, there was a lot that was tough about that game. The Su-24 from Tommy taking out the Ihawk and both my Leopards. Yeah, rough times, rough times. Got to work on that radar micro for sure. I'm certainly rusty when it comes to that in WARNO. But a really fun game, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the showcase of VTK 42. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.